morning, good afternoon, everyone. We'll get going here in about 3 to 4 minutes. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. Awesome. All right, everyone. Appreciate everyone joining the webinar today. We will get started. Good morning, good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well today. Thank you again for joining today's monthly webinar, Assisting in Virtual Recruitment, What Advisors Can Do to Best Assist in Virtual Recruitment. My name is Hayden Ron. I am the Expansion Development Director for Delta Upsilon. I've been on staff for 4 years, actually come June 1st, so just under 4 years, first year on staff as a leadership consultant, and then the past 3 as the expansion and development director. I'm really excited to be spending the next 45 minutes to an hour with you all talking through virtual recruitment and how you as advisors can best assist in that process. I'm spent a ton of time over the past 8 weeks focused on virtual recruitment resources and helping our undergraduates understand what that's going to look like for their specific chapter or colony. And so again, excited to be spending some time with you all as advisors to help you all understand what are some of those best practices, recommendations that will allow for you all to be the best support system and the best advisor as it relates to virtual recruitment during this just unprecedented time that we're living in. A lot of this, just to kind of preface, if you were on my webinar about a month ago, specifically related to how to best virtually recruit, there is some overlap. A lot of it does carry over in the sense of the information stays the same, but the way in which you as advisors are going to be able to engage with the undergraduates that you're working with is definitely going to be a little bit different than what the undergraduates are actually doing as it relates to virtual recruitment. So with that being said, we will get started. What I always like to start with, especially when talking with recruitment, whether it is with advisors, alumni, specifically undergraduates, is I always like to remind everyone the foundation of recruitment. I think this really frames what we're looking at and how recruitment should be viewed. And I think there's two big pieces there. It's this idea that recruitment is all about the relationships that are built and that people are joining people. And so taking those foundations and translating it into virtual recruitment, it can be very simple, albeit very different, because now it's all over a screen or through texting or through DMing, but it's definitely going to stay the same as far as the foundation of relationship building and people joining people. And so as you're working with undergraduates, as you are sitting in on recruitment meetings, as you are following up with the vice president of recruitment, always remind them to think about how they're best building those relationships. Yes, it's going to be different. Yes, it's going to be virtual. Yes, it might not look the same, but relationships can still be built through Zoom, through Google Hangout, through texting. And so far, in talking with undergraduates, we are seeing chapters and colonies be successful in that relationship building. And we can talk a little bit more about that later on in the webinar. But just to kind of keep everything in mind and set the foundation for us today, really centered around this idea that people join people, and recruitment is all about relationships. So to move on, I think there's 5 different areas that we're going to be talking about in ways in which you as advisors can assist our undergraduates with recruitment. The first one is the recruitment committee. Second one is helping them build a names list. Third one is outreach to potential new members or P&Ms. And then the last 2 are P&M engagement activities and parent engagement. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into each of the 5 sections that we'll talk about. I will say, if you do have a question, feel free to write that in the question box, and at the very end, I'll be able to go through those and answer those for you as well. So to start us off, we're going to talk about the recruitment committee. The recruitment committee clearly is a main staple and something that needs to be very consistent for undergraduate men during this time. In my webinar a month ago, when addressing the undergraduates, I was very clear that especially during this virtual recruitment timeframe and understanding virtual recruitment, having consistent and weekly recruitment committee meetings is going to be incredibly key for the success of the chapter. And so you as advisors, I think the best thing is to ensure that those meetings are happening, following up with the vice president of recruitment and making sure that they are having those consistent meetings and that those meetings are on a platform that is most effective and most efficient, whether that be on conference call, Zoom, Google Hangout. I think in the past 8 weeks, we've learned that Zoom and Google Hangout and Skype and these other virtual kind of video platforms are very easy to get set up. Students are now used to them. And so really kind of honing in on the fact that they need to be consistent, they need to be weekly, they need to have some in-depth dialogue about what the chapter or colony is doing as it relates to recruitment. And this is a great opportunity for you as advisors to help them understand what that looks like, but also ensure that those meetings are happening. This is another really great opportunity, if we look at point 2, for you all as advisors to participate in those meetings. If time allows, if the situation is right, I think having you all as a voice in that meeting to kind of ask the right questions, challenge some of what they might be saying, bring new perspective or knowledge is incredibly helpful, because they may not be thinking of something that you all as advisors have experience with. I'm seeing that a lot when I'm doing these recruitment coaching sessions, which we've just started over the past 4 weeks, is that there's a ton of information and knowledge that the undergraduates are wanting. They just don't know that yet. And having that perspective of somebody like myself, you as advisors, as alumni, as on-campus faculty members, have that perspective, which is incredibly beneficial. And the undergraduates are wanting that experience and wanting that conversation. This also allows for you to understand where the committee is at as far as goals, plans, responsibilities. It gives you the peace of mind knowing that there are plans being set into place, that the recruitment committee is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it allows for you to have consistent follow-up as well to ensure things are actually going the way they should be going. And then I think the last thing is this is a great time for you to ask questions and challenge the recruitment committee in the process and understanding what they're doing. I think there's 4 main questions that you should be asking consistently. These are similar questions to what the recruitment committee should be asking themselves. The first one is, how can the committee's current plan be adjusted to fit into virtual recruitment? And so you all as advisors should help them kind of create, what does that look like? How do we adjust what the chapter is already doing or what was planning on doing? And how does that transition into a virtual recruitment period or phase that we're in? Utilizing these virtual meetings, utilizing Zoom, Google Hangout, texting, calling, social media. So how does the committee adjust those plans? The second one is, how is the chapter or colony going to engage PNMs virtually in order for them to build relationships? So if we think back to the foundation of recruitment, we think back to this idea that people join people, the recruitment committee needs to be asking this question: how are they going to engage PNMs to build those relationships? And what are they doing to continue the building of relationships? One really great thing one of our chapters is doing is they are texting their PNMs every single week just to check in on them, just to see how they're doing, what's going on, how are they dealing with finals, how are they dealing with going into summer. And so it allows for them to engage in just a simple way moving forward. And it's very consistent and very weekly. The third one is, what does the chapter colony need that it does not currently have to be successful? And how does the chapter colony go about getting what it needs? And this is where you all as advisors can understand where they're at. This is where you as advisors can help understand what the chapter may need or the colony may need, and what it actually currently has as well to be successful. And then you all can have that conversation with them to understand, what does that look like, and what does that piece look like. The last piece is, what does the committee need from you as an advisor? So what does the committee need from you to be successful? There are things that you all might be able to offer or might be able to help them answer or plan for, that you just don't know about. And so asking the committee, what do you need from them as an advisor, is going to be incredibly helpful. So you all can really understand, where can I be the most effective? Where can I be the most effective, most efficient for the committee and for the chapter when it relates to recruitment? So we will move on from there. 1 second. Just need to get back to my Google. There we go. Perfect. Next is building a names list. And so this is clearly something that the recruitment committee and the chapter and colony is needing to do right off the bat. Clearly, the more names that you all have, or the more names that the committee in the chapter colony has, clearly the better off they're going to be. And so I think first and foremost, this is where you as advisors can just assist in attaining those referrals, whether or not you know students, you can talk to other advisors or alumni or people that you might know, students who are coming to campus. This is where you can help them understand how to attain referrals and what's the most productive way to attain referrals. You can help them draft emails asking alumni for referrals. You can remind the chapter colony to extend that email more than just chapter specific alumni. We at IHQ are more than happy to help work with a chapter colony to attain names and send messaging out to more than just chapter or colony specific alumni to try to get as many referrals as possible. This is also, when it comes to building a names list, your opportunity to ensure they have a centralized location for this names list. A lot of chapters and colonies use Excel or Google documents, which is awesome, but it's really allowing for you all then to ensure that they have notes on that person, that it's being consistently updated, that they have different points of contact, and ensuring that those points of contact are reaching out to these names. So it allows for you just to follow up and it allows for you guys or allows for you all to ensure that they have that centralized name location, they're getting referrals, and that they are following up with those referrals. And then another piece is reminding the chapter colonies that there's other ways to obtain referrals. So I think a lot of the times chapters and colonies think, hey, the only ways we can obtain names is through members and through the IFC and through these tabling events. And because we don't necessarily have all of those pieces, there's no other way that we can obtain names. And so reminding the committee, reminding the chapter or colony that you can ask parents. They may have neighbors whose kids are going to the university. They may be a teacher at a high school and may be able to know some kids or some young men that they coached in high school or taught in high school that they can refer. The university departments, they may be able to provide names. Clearly, we don't know that, and universities differ, but they can reach out, they can ask. At the bare minimum, it at least starts a relationship and starts a conversation with the university department or office, which will allow for them to maybe further partner or ask for something else. It at least builds that relationship there. But you never know, that university department or office may be able to share some incoming freshmen or transfer students or current students that may be interested in joining a fraternity. And then the last is non-DU friends. So clearly they're going to have friends outside of Delta Upsilon, and so giving them the opportunity there to ask those friends, hey, here's who we're looking for. We're needing more names for our names list. We're trying to build the chapter and recruit more men. Who do you know that might be a good fit for our organization? And so you as advisors, reminding them of what that looks like, reminding them of there are other ways to obtain those referrals that don't necessarily have to deal with orientation or tabling, now that a lot of those are being transitioned online, is super helpful, and will remind them that there's, again, other avenues to build that names list there. So the next piece is outreach to PNMs. Outreaching to PNMs clearly is going to be incredibly crucial just to starting that relationship. I think this is where a lot of potential new members and young men are unsure of what the best way to do that is, especially in the virtual recruitment realm. And I've had conversations with multiple chapters centered around this fact that they don't want to seem as though it's awkward or that it's just a stock message or anything of that sort. And I think they're struggling at a certain level, and the chapter colony and the young men that you may be working with may be struggling with trying to understand what's the best way to send a message to a potential new member to start that relationship. And so I've had some really productive conversations with undergraduates in our recruitment coaching sessions, which have allowed for them to understand like what needs to be in that messaging. And so I think this is a great opportunity for you as advisors to assist them in that messaging. How do I open? How do I introduce myself? What needs to be in that message? What needs to be in a text, a DM, an email? Reminding them that it needs to be personalized. It can't be a group message to a handful of PNMs, because that's just not going to be as productive as individualized, personalized text messages to those PNMs, right? You're going to get a better response rate. They're going to feel like it's directed at them, which it is, and they're just not another number for the chapter or colony. So helping them draft that message, reminding them the importance of individualized messaging is going to be super helpful. And I know, again, in my conversations with my recruitment coaching sessions, it's been a topic of conversation for a handful of groups. But once I've been able to talk through it with them, give them some examples, they have a better idea, and it's not as awkward to them, or they don't see it as kind of stock or sales-like, for lack of a better term. The second point is really important, as I'm sure most of you know, remind the chapter or colony to be consistent with outreach, make it about relationship building. So it doesn't have to be right off the bat, hey, are you interested in DU? Do you want to join a fraternity? Those type of things. It's just getting to know the individual, having that relationship being built, just checking in, seeing how they're doing. I know one of our chapters is reaching out to potential new members, potential new freshmen specifically, and just saying, hey, congratulations on coming to the university. Looking forward to having you on campus. If you need anything, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. I'm happy to just be a resource for you. They've seen success in that. They've also understood that a lot of those students aren't going to necessarily find that now at orientation, because orientation is virtual. And so they want to be that helping hand. They want to allow for them to build that relationship and be just another student who will answer questions and help them through certain things that they may need help with. And so that has allowed for them to have some good outreach, have some good connection there, and now they're able to follow up over the summer leading into the fall to build those relationships. And then the last piece is encourage chapters and colonies to cold call PNMs who have not responded to outreach. This is incredibly nerve-wracking, I know, for undergraduates to say, oh, you want me to pick up the phone and just call a random guy? I get it. We do it all the time on expansion, obviously, and the first time you have to do it, it's really, really tough if you're not used to it. I remember I was at the University of Texas and having to sit down and cold call all these guys. I wasn't fully used to it. I wasn't like totally like anxious about it or nervous about it. I was kind of somewhere in between. But once I got a few out of the way and started getting on the phone with some guys, it definitely helped out there. And I saw a good response rate. It's always good just to connect. It's also different. I'm assuming not a lot of undergraduate men or other chapters or colonies on their campuses may be doing that. So giving them the opportunity to just give a call and make that connection over the phone is always good there. You as advisors, again, may need to help them in just understanding, hey, what do I talk about on the phone? What does that look like? What responses? If I have to leave a voicemail, do I leave a voicemail? Do I not leave a voicemail? I think just encouraging them, that cold calling, just another way to outreach to PNMs that they may need to do more of now that they can't necessarily see people in person. And so reaching out and making that phone call is going to be incredibly beneficial, especially for those who haven't responded. So that's the outreach to PNMs piece. Again, I think for advisors, the really important kind of goals here for you is just help them drafting that message and help them understand what to talk about, what questions to ask. How do I not, again, sound like a salesperson or sound stock-like or be awkward in that kind of initial outreach to them. And so helping them through that process is going to be incredibly beneficial and effective and efficient for them. The next is PNM engagement and activities. And so this is where I especially probably 2 months ago, really started thinking, how can our advisors and alumni be engaged in virtual recruitment in a unique, creative, and positive way? And so did a lot of thinking around what can advisors bring and provide to the undergraduate chapter or colony that they advise, which is going to enhance the PNM relationship and engagement piece. So this is a great way for you all to be involved. It's a great way for you all to meet PNMs. And so I thought, what typically advisors may meet PNMs in person at a recruitment event, at a barbecue, at a dinner. Maybe they stop by the house, maybe they meet them at a chapter meeting or a colony meeting. And while those can't happen anymore, there's still a lot of opportunity for advisors and alumni to engage virtually. And so a few things that I've been recommending to chapters and colonies to follow up with their advisors and alumni on are getting them involved virtually with certain, if they're having an information session, maybe you create an advisor or alumni panel where PNMs can hear from the advisors and alumni and ask questions and hear the support that you're providing them. From an information standpoint, we have chapters who are doing virtual information sessions, and so encouraging them to, again, invite alumni and advisors to those sessions to get their perspective and help them understand what that looks like on their end, right? And kind of say, hey, here's the support we have. Here's kind of the good piece of that support. Let's go ahead and make sure that, you know exactly what that looks like. And let's actually hear from an advisor or an alumnus about that support that we're providing. So those are a few ways there. I've also encouraged chapters and colonies to make phone call, ask their alumni or advisors to make phone calls to like high priority PNMs, just to engage with them in a different way, to engage with them on the phone and say, hey, you know, heard that you're interested, heard that you really want to join DU or that you have a great relationship with DU. What questions do you have? Here's what I do as an advisor. Here's kind of the support that you'll be provided. Here's some really cool things that we're able to offer, just so again, that they see that level of support from the advisors. And not only are they hearing about it from the chapter, but they're also seeing it and hearing it from the advisor or the alumnus themselves. And then the last piece is asking the committee again, how can you best assist in recruitment? So every chapter colony is different. Every group that I've talked to has a different plan. And so asking them, where do you need me? Where can I be most effective? Here are some ideas I have to be involved with recruitment, virtual recruitment. So giving them the opportunity again to tell you exactly what they may need throughout the process or in the process, I think is going to be incredibly beneficial. And it, again, gives you all insight to say, where as an advisor can I be most helpful? I don't want to necessarily overstep my boundary, but I also don't want to be doing nothing for the chapter or colony throughout this process. And so there's ways to engage, there's ways to have virtual engagement that will be productive and could be effective. It's just a matter of talking with the recruitment committee and saying, hey, here are things I think that could be really helpful. Here are some recommendations I have to get the advisors involved, but what else can I do for you? And what else are you able to, what do you need from me, again, to best engage with PNMs? Is it a testimonial that they can post on social media? Is it a introduction letter to the fraternity? Is it a email to all parents, right? And we'll talk about parent engagement here. Is it an email to all parents that introduces myself as the advisor, or introduces the advisory board, or introduces the alumni board and says, here's kind of what we've done and here's what we're excited for, and we're excited that your son is interested in DU, and here's all the information that you need, and if you need somebody to get a hold of, here's my contact information. That could be very effective and a great way to engage PNMs and their parents, right? But we may not know until we ask the undergraduates, how can I best assist you with recruitment, especially with virtual recruitment? What questions do you have? What do you need from me? And how can I best engage and help you engage with PNMs? So I think those are three big main points there on the PNM engagement side. The last piece here is parent engagement. I think this is where advisors can be incredibly beneficial in assisting with virtual recruitment. As we know, parents already are incredibly involved with undergraduates' kind of careers and their sons' decisions. I think foreseeing down the line, there's going to be even more involvement, because they're going to be clearly, as they should be, concerned for their son's health and well-being, and ensuring that they are joining organizations and groups that are the best for their son. And so this is where advisors, I think, can really speak on behalf of the support that you're providing. What are advisors and alumni doing that are going to ensure the health and safety and well-being of their son? What are they going to do when questions come up or things change? And how has the response been, and what's the response potentially going to be? And so I think for advisors, just like I tell undergraduates, building that relationship with the parents initially and right off the bat is going to be incredibly beneficial. And this is a great way for you all to assist the undergraduates. Again, going back to this idea, sending a letter. Do you record a video of yourself as an advisor addressing parents and letting them know the advisors and alumni are there to support them, and they're involved in the process, and they're consistently working with the undergraduates and the executive board on ensuring their son's health and well-being, and ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to continue on in the chapter, whether it be virtually or in person, explaining to the parents, here's what we've been doing for the current members, and if your son were to join the organization, they would be a part of that, right? And so allowing for you as advisors, you as alumni, to address the parents in that really productive way. That second point, right, create an email that sends to parents, or you can mail it about information, as well as reassurance of the commitment from the chapter and colony, the advisors of the son's well-being. Again, just getting that parent engagement, building that parent interaction there, building that parent relationship is going to be really helpful. And then I think the last piece, if you're comfortable, I think at this point, right, like having and being open to phone calls and or virtual meetings with parents to address concerns. Parents are going to have a ton of questions. They always do. Which a lot of times they're asking their students, and their students are asking the undergraduate men, but sometimes there's questions that the parents want to ask an alumnus or want to ask an advisor, or the undergraduate men may just not be the best prepared to answer those. And so giving the offer to say, hey, if you have a question, if you need anything, here's my email, let's set up a time to hop on the phone and I can address some of those concerns, address some of the questions that you may have, whether it be related to housing, finances, just the member experience, the new member process, any of that. And so I think you all as advisors being open to having those phone calls, addressing those concerns, I think that will be and could help relieve maybe some of the stress and anxiety that our undergraduates may see when it comes to answering a lot of questions, or parents reaching out to them and maybe they're not feeling well equipped. So being just open to there and providing that support, assisting in that way is definitely a tip or a recommendation that we have for parent engagement and for the advisors on that standpoint there. I think a few other things, additional resources and support that you all definitely can take advantage of. The first one is our virtual recruitment resources, which is now under a new section. It used to be under our chapter resources page. It's now under our virtual programming section on the DU website. If you just go to the top of the deltau.org under programs, on the bottom right, it should say virtual programming. That page has a ton of information as it relates to virtual programming. About midway down has all the resources that we've created so far as it relates to recruitment resources and virtual recruitment resources. That also has the link to the webinar I did last month, specifically addressing virtual recruitment to our undergraduates and how best they can be the most effective and efficient and best prepare for virtual recruitment. So definitely encourage you to check those resources out. I think there's 8 or 9 resources that we have. We're actually continuing to develop resources. One that we're developing right now is around potential new member objections or concerns and best way to address those. So hopefully we'll have that out here in the next week or so. Just finishing up the final touches on getting that out there. So we're trying to provide as much resource, especially as it comes to virtual recruitment, as possible. So check that out. We also have recruitment coaching sessions. About a third of our chapters have signed up for a session already, which is awesome. They've been going incredibly well. It's dedicated time with a DU staff member. It's usually myself, who has about 45 minutes to an hour of really talking about the chapter or colony specific recruitment goals, plans, talking through maybe any concerns or issues that they have as it relates to recruitment. And so that's really helped our undergraduates see the positives and what they can do with virtual recruitment, as well as get them in this mindset that recruitment is 365 days of the year and it's all about relationship building. And so we've had really productive conversations. I put that out there because those are also open to you as advisors. So if you want to set up a session with myself to have a conversation around how can I best assist, if you want to set up a session with the recruitment committee or with the VP of recruitment, feel free to. One of two ways to request those. You can either shoot me an email, ron@deltu.org, or you can fill out our recruitment coaching request form at that link right there. Again, great sessions, but those aren't just for undergraduates, also available for advisors. I know a few chapters have talked about getting the advisors on calls down the line to allow for their participation in those. And so I encourage in every call for that to be the case as well. If you're also curious whether or not your chapter or colony has completed or signed up for a session, you can also email me and I'd be more than happy to let you know if that's something that has happened. Again, I think we're up to 28, 29. I got a couple emails yesterday about setting up sessions. So 28, 29 of our 70 chapters and colonies have signed up for a session already. The goal, just so you all are aware, is that all of our chapters and colonies sign up for at least one session prior to the start of the fall semester. So we're plugging away, and we're hopeful that we can get all of our chapters and colonies to have one of those sessions sometime here in the next couple of months. So those are a few of the additional resources and support. A couple other things I would love to add that I think you all would be great at assisting in, and I will kind of go back because I think it plays under probably outreach to PNMs or even PNM engagement and activities, is this idea that there needs to be very clear information disseminated to the potential new member, especially now during virtual recruitment. And I think as advisors, helping the undergraduates understand that they need to be very clear with their information. They need to set those expectations with potential new members right from the start, and they can't wait to share that information down the line. I think, and I was just on a phone call yesterday with a chapter talking specifically about this, and actually their VP of recruitment said that's a main focus for them, specifically because when he was joining, they didn't have all the information that they probably should have, specifically as it related to finance or other expectations or requirements that the chapter or the colony expects from members. And so giving all that information out from the start is something that you all as advisors can definitely assist in making sure happens. I think the best practice in that, in the things that are best chapters and colonies that do that, is they just create financial information sheets, or they create a packet of information that they're able to share with the undergraduates or able to share with the parents that answer all the questions that they have. And for you as advisors, being able to help in that process of, okay, here's the information that we're sharing, here's what the document looks like, here's what we need in the document, here are the expectations, here are the requirements. Those are things that are going to engage PNMs better. It's going to be better with outreach, and it's also going to be better with parent engagement as well. So great way, again, for you as advisors to assist and ensure that things are actually happening within virtual recruitment, and that a lot of guys aren't just sitting back and waiting. And so I think that's another piece that I've learned, and I'll go down to these questions to see if anyone has any. But another thing that I've really picked up on in my recruitment coaching session meetings is that a lot of chapters and colonies are just kind of waiting to see what universities are going, or what their university is going to do as far as fall goes. Are we going to be online? Are we going to be in person? Are we going to start late? Is IFC recruitment happening? And that mindset makes sense, but also helping them understand that there is a ton that they can actually do virtually now that they don't have to wait for, and that they can start contingency planning and having different plans depending on what may eventually occur. And while that might seem like more work than they thought they were going to have, it's going to actually help them down the line, so that when the university officially announces what they're going to do, they can then establish and just go with the plan that they've created, instead of waiting back and then trying to create a plan from there, knowing that some universities won't actually let or are planning to make a decision until the end of July. And so that might be just too late from a planning perspective and really getting ahead of the game there. So trying to help them, again, understand the importance of putting in the work now, the importance of doing the outreach now, and that you can't necessarily wait until the university makes a decision to then start planning. That planning can still happen now. It can still be very productive now, excuse me, for the chapter and for the colony. And you as advisors can help in that planning, can help in that process, can help in that strategy. And then down the line, as things may change and as things may come up, you all will be there to talk through those changes, ask the right questions, provide knowledge, provide perspective that they may need to, again, help them in that virtual recruitment process or transition back to maybe in-person recruitment or a hybrid of virtual recruitment plus in-person recruitment. And so again, that I think is another key point there that you all as advisors can assist in and 100% recommend you all following up with your chapters and colonies with as well. So with that being said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to write them or type them in the question box here. So I will wait a couple minutes or a few seconds to see if any questions pop up. If not, we'll wrap up here a little bit earlier. All right. So it doesn't look like there's any questions. However, if any questions do come up, here is a question here. So the question is, how much of a decline in recruitment have you estimated? That's a great question. I think for each group, it's going to be different depending on the chapter or colony, just depending on what the university does. I think you're probably definitely going to see at least 10 to 15% decline, or you can estimate for that, but it might change. But I think as chapters and colonies start to see what the university is doing, they'll get a better understanding of what that looks like. As we understand more of what universities and colleges are doing, we'll have a better understanding of what that decline might look like. As we kind of communicate with our fraternity and sorority life partners, we'll have a better understanding of what that looks like. But I think initially, if I think about it, maybe 10 to 15%, but that might change. That may be more for some campuses, less for others. But that's definitely something we've kept in mind, and it is why we've made such an important kind of push to say, put in the work now, do virtual recruitment, build those relationships now, so that you can continue those throughout the summer. So that's a great question there, so appreciate that. Great. So like I said, if there's any other questions that you have, if you want to talk more, set up a recruitment coaching session, if you want these slides at all, please feel free to email me. My email is right there on the screen, ron@deltu.org. Also, feel free to text me or call me. I give my number out to every undergraduate or on every presentation. That's my personal number. So if there's any questions or you want to give me a quick call to talk through something, my number is 951-553-9285. But again, I really appreciate you all taking your morning or your afternoon or your lunch break to listen to me today talk about recruitment and how you all as advisors can best assist in virtual recruitment. Again, there'll continue to be resources that come out. We'll continue to update and work with our undergraduate men. And as always, on behalf of Delta Upsilon, we thank you so much for your support and work with our undergraduate men. It is incredibly beneficial, and our men would not be having the experience that they would be having without you all as advisors. And so I want to just give a big heartfelt thank you, especially over the past 8 weeks. I know the work that you all have been putting in to ensure that our undergraduate men are healthy, are safe, and are having still a positive DU experience. So thank you for that. Thank you for ensuring that we're building better men. Again, thank you for showing up today, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday and a wonderful rest of your week, or Tuesday. Sorry, that's where I'm at this week. So wonderful rest of your Tuesday, wonderful rest of your week. Thank you all.